Arrowverse Crossover Crisis Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we are doing Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3 from the Flash Season 6, Episode 9. So, this is the third part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I reviewed the last two parts, and as you know, I wasn't a huge fan of those episodes. This one is a little bit better, so let's get into it. So this episode starts off with an opening of Earth 203, New Gotham, and they basically show, I think, one of the characters from the Birds of Prey TV show that was on the old WB. So they kind of do this little Birds of Prey opening, which is kind of cool, actually. And then, of course, that Earth gets hit by the antimatter wave. But it was kind of a nice little... I hear the Birds of Prey show is pretty good. So I haven't seen it myself. I think it's on the CW Seed app, though. But it was a cool little opening. I liked it a lot. And then we jump back to the Wave Rider, and we get everybody, the whole team's on there, trying to figure out what they're doing. Then we get Ralph, Cisco, and Killer Frost that join in. And Ralph is introducing himself to everybody. And Frost says, ignore him. It's his first crossover. And there's the crossover mentioned again. I believe Sarah used the term crossover last episode. So I still don't like them using the word crossover. It's still way too meta. Just say team up. Why do they have to throw crossover in there? Say it's his first big team up. But anyway, so we get Ralph, Cisco, and Frost. And then we get John Jones and both Supermen. The Supergirl Superman and Brandon Routh Superman, they say something about how they're going to go off and save as many people in the other multiverses as they can and bring them back to Earth 1. So that's where they are for most of the episode. And then Cisco is fixing with Ray Palmer. Cisco and Ray are fixing the Paragon detector, and they find the last three Paragons. And so John Jones is revealed as the Paragon of Honor, Barry is revealed as the Paragon of Love, and a new person, Ryan Choi, is the Paragon of Humanity. And so now we have all of our 7 Paragons. We have to go recruit one more. And I mentioned on the last episode, why weren't the 7 Paragons the 7 main characters of the 6 shows? Why? Why? Why not? That makes the most sense. So I'm not 100% sure how the rest of this is going to play out. I don't know what the writers were going for, but why? I do know that Ryan Choi character will be replacing the Ray Palmer character as the Atom, so I guess we're going to see that. So maybe, bringing him in and replace him instead of Ray as the Paragon, but then keep the other 6 as the Paragons. Why we got to do this we got to find out the Paragons? It just I don't know, it just seems so last minute. It's like, we never set any of this Paragon stuff up. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go on another rant. I went on a rant last episode about the whole Paragon and the Monitor's plan is terrible. But anyway, so we have Ryan Choi as the Paragon of Humanity. And then Cisco figures out where the source of the antimatter red particle wave is coming from. And of course it's coming from underneath Central City, where we had saw on The Flash that Nash Wells was trying to excavate under the tunnel and look for who he thought was the Monitor. So that's apparently where the whole antimatter wave source is being generated from. And so the Monitor then turns Cisco back into Vibe, so we get Vibe again, which I don't know how I feel about that. It was Cisco's choice to take away his powers, and just giving him the powers back without him wanting them. I don't like really that's taking away people's choice of what they want over how to control, if they want powers or not. But he says Vibe is necessary for the crisis, so I don't know if this is going to mean Cisco's going to stay Vibe after the crisis or give up his powers again. I don't know. I liked having Cisco not have powers. We really haven't had Cisco not have powers since the first season, and it's kind of refreshing. So he becomes Vibe again, and then we get Cisco, Barry, and Frost. They go to the under tunnel site to try and open the door to get into the source of the antimatter waves. Pariah shows up, and Pariah says he only shows up to witness a tragedy. So he is there to bear witness to the tragedies that are that's his punishment. So he explains that he was Nash Wells. He was searching for the Monitor, Mar-Novu, but he was actually being manipulated by the Anti-Monitor and then used by the Anti-Monitor to unleash the Anti-Monitor, actually. And then, his sort of penance for that is he's pariah, and he just shows up to bear witness to the torture that the Anti-Monitor is going to be committing on these people, the Crisis of Infinite Earths. Then we switch to Lex Luthor explaining how to use the Book of Destiny to Kara and Kate. And so Kara wants to use the book to bring back her Earth, Earth 38, and everybody from there. Kate is not on board with it, so I'm not sure why she was threatening Lex Luthor to explain how to use the book if she didn't want Kara to use the book anyway. But she's a good friend, and she supports Kara to a certain extent. But so we have that little side there. And of course, Lex, it sets up that Lex knows how to use the book, which is going to come in at the end of the episode. Of course, he used it last episode, but he sets up sort of the rules. And he briefly mentions John Deegan from Elseworlds crossover last year, how he went insane using the book. And so Kara wants to use the book to bring back her Earth, and so that's kind of what she and Kate are going to be doing the rest of the episode. And then we jump over to Earth 666, and we get the Lucifer cameo. So I don't watch the show Lucifer, but I do know the actor, and I know of the show Lucifer, and I know it's very popular. It's also on Fox, wasn't it? Or I guess it was on Fox, but now that it's on Netflix, maybe they were able to make a deal with Netflix to use him on this cameo. And it was actually kind of a cool cameo. Basically, Constantine, Mia, and Diggle need to go to Purgatory to bring back Oliver's soul. And because of the antimatter waves, Constantine can't do it himself, so he goes to Lucifer on Earth 666. And so Lucifer basically gives them a card, and I guess apparently he owes Constantine a favor. So it's kind of a cool little cameo. I should watch the Lucifer show. I hear it's pretty good, and I know it's got like a lot of genre TV actors in it. So I'll probably catch up on that at some point. But I just thought, how does Constantine know Lucifer if Lucifer's on a different Earth than him? I don't know. It's an interesting question. I never watched the Constantine show, so I don't know, and I don't watch him on Legends of Tomorrow, so I'm not sure what his knowledge of parallel Earths and multiverse and stuff was, and if he was able to travel and communicate, or if Lucifer fluidly can move between the multiverse on his own. But so somehow they know each other, which is cool. And then of course Lucifer calls him Constantine, or he calls him Johnny Constantine, and then Constantine says it's Constantine. And he goes, yeah, is it though? I don't care. I believe that was a callback to, it was originally pronounced Constantine, and then they sort of changed it to Constantine because of the movie with Keanu Reeves. So that's kind of a cool little callback. And so they go to Purgatory, and they're on Lian Yu, which is Mandarin for Purgatory, and they say, this is what Oliver probably thinks of when he thinks of spending, an eternity. So they go there to get Oliver's soul. So that's, that's kind of cool that Lian Yu was Mandarin for Purgatory. I don't know that they meant that when they initially, set up the Arrow show, that it would come back, kind of full circle this way, and that's where Oliver's soul is trapped at. But it was interesting. And then we jumped to the Flash and Cisco and Frost and Pariah. They get through the tunnel, and they discover the anti-wave treadmill, and they discover the treadmill is powering the anti-matter cannon, which is what's causing the wave that destroys the Earths. And they realize that the treadmill is being powered by Earth 90 Flash, which we saw back in Elseworlds last year. And so they explain that when the Monitor makes that version of Flash disappear last year in Elseworlds, he sent him off to a different Earth where the Anti-Monitor found him and put him on the treadmill to power his antimatter wave cannon. So that's what happened with the Earth 90 Flash. And then, of course, Pariah mentions that, when that happened, the Anti-Monitor tested the cannon out and it destroyed Earth 2, which I believe happened on the Arrow show at the beginning of last season or this season or something. And anyway, so they mentioned, Harry Wells from Earth 2 and his daughter Jessie. They're gone. They're dead. I don't know if anybody from the show has confirmed that they're gone or dead, if they maybe were off Earth, but we're presuming that they're gone, which is very sad. I think Earth 2 Harry Wells was my favorite version of Wells, and also H.G. Wells or H.R. Wells. He was good too. So that's a little sad that they're gone, but So Barry gets Earth 90 flashed off of the treadmill because Vibe helps him, and then they basically say it's rigged. If he leaves the treadmill, it'll explode or something or whatever. So that sucks. But then we switch to Ralph, Iris, and Ray recruiting Ryan Choi. So they go to meet Ryan Choi in Ivy Town, which I guess is where Ray is from. And Ryan Choi knows Ray and has studied his work and stuff, and so he's kind of fanboying for a second. But then they kind of, tell him, the fate of the world and the Earth's going to die and he needs to help them. And so then he's like, no, I'm out. I'm going to go spend time with my wife and child, all right? So they kind of lose him for a minute, and then, of course, we get Barry and Iris saying goodbye to each other, which was really touching. Barry's basically saying, Iris, you need to go be the person that I love and, use your power of, having an amazing heart to inspire Ryan Choi. And so Iris does that. And it's a good scene between Barry and Iris. Like I mentioned last episode, this show it slowly over time has worn me down. I support Barry and Iris now. I ship them. I did not like Iris' first season of Flash, and she just kind of slowly got better, and they slowly built their relationship up, and I really like them now. So it was a good little scene. And then back to Barry, Cisco, Frost, and Pariah. Pariah recruits Black Lightning, and he basically saves Black Lightning right before Black Lightning's Earth is destroyed by the antimatter wave. So Black Lightning's upset, he's like, you should have saved my family. And Pariah's like, we need your help. All the superheroes are like, we need you to help. And so it's kind of really sad for Black Lightning. He doesn't really get a lot of time to process, what just happened. They're telling him the multiverse exists. They're telling him he has to help save the world. And, he, carries it all pretty well. I would have been freaking out. Like, what the heck is going on here? But I do like them bringing in Black Lightning a lot. I like the new Black Lightning suit. It's a lot better than the original Black Lightning suit. I don't watch the show Black Lightning. I watched about the first 3, maybe 4 episodes of the first season. I need to go back and watch it again. But I like the character, though. I like the Black Lightning and his powers. And so they bring him in, and they need him to help contain the energy of the antimatter cannon so that they can get in there and disable it. And then we get Earth 90 Flash. Well, basically, they figure out that they need to get on the treadmill, and while Black Lightning contains the energy, they can disable it somehow using the treadmill. And so Barry thinks that this is what the monitor meant. This is how the Flash is going to disappear and vanish in Crisis. So Barry's all ready to get set, and we get Caitlin. Frost turns back into Caitlin so that they can say goodbye. And it's a very nice little touching scene, but then, of course, Earth 90 Flash comes in, and he steals Barry's powers, which is cool. He says, when you've been doing this long as I have, you learn some cool tricks. So he steals Barry's powers, and then he gets on the treadmill, and he runs, and you get a little flashback to the original Flash show from the 90s. The same actor. So you get a flashback of him and young Tina McGee, and right before he disappears, that's the last thing that he remembers. So it's kind of sweet in a way. And so the Flash vanishes. He disappears in Crisis. I have a feeling that this isn't what the Monitor meant, because when he says it, he speaks directly to Barry. Now, he doesn't ever say, you, Barry. He just says, the Flash. So that could be the loophole that they use so that Barry Flash doesn't die, but a Flash died. But I have a feeling we're not done with that whole thing yet with Barry might die. So we'll see how that all turns out. And then, of course, everything's going to blow up, so Cisco vibes them out of there with Black Lightning. And so it's a pretty interesting scene. I like it. It's, we didn't know Earth 90 Flash very much. It's supposed to be the same as the 90s television Flash, but just all grown up. But, Barry is very upset by it. And, he thought that was his moment. But, of course, he gets to go back to Iris afterwards, and she's super happy. And then, of course, during all of this, we get Batwoman, who stops Supergirl from using the Book of Destiny. And it's an interesting little scene. Supergirl is like, I'm going to do this. And Batwoman's like, I'll stop you. And Supergirl is like, oh, you can try. And the Batwoman's like, yeah, I can do it, And so it's an interesting little scene. Supergirl walks away, and Batwoman's like, whew, I don't think I could have made it. Because Supergirl would have, destroyed her. But, Batwoman did have the kryptonite, so I think she had that little ace up her sleeve. But Supergirl makes the decision, because Batwoman says, if it goes wrong and you lose your mind, then we have no shot. And so basically it's like Supergirl is, a very powerful superhero that they need to help them beat the Crisis. And if they lose her, then they have no shot at beating the Crisis. And so Supergirl kind of thinks it over, and she's like, I'm not happy about it, but okay. And she just walks away. And then back in Purgatory, we get Diggle, Mia, and Constantine. They find Oliver, and they try to convince him to come back with them. But just before he does, a character, Jim Corrigan, I've never heard of this character. I don't watch the other show, so I don't know. But Jim Corrigan comes in and says, hey, I'm the Spectre, and now it's your turn, Oliver. You need to be the Spectre. So he convinces Oliver to become Spectre. I don't know what that is. I believe it was in the original Crisis comic, though. So I'm not sure what role the Spectre plays, but it's interesting. He does say, you have to do this because this is how you can help save the Crisis. So, and of course Oliver's like, well then yeah, I gotta do it, So Oliver his soul doesn't come back with them. And so I guess, I don't know, does that mean they just have an Oliver body that's feral? Or are they going to have to kill Oliver's body again and bury him? I don't know how all that works. But so Oliver is going to become the Spectre, so we'll see how that plays out, I think, in the next couple of episodes. And then after that, we get a really nice scene between Barry and Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning, and they kind of talk about their dads and the moral lessons that their dads have taught them. It's a really touching scene, and you can tell that Jefferson is, definitely grieving the death of his daughters, and he's trying to process everything that's happening. And it's a nice sort of connection between him and Barry. Barry's like, I've been through similar things. My parents are dead. I've lost a lot of people, So I like the little moment. It's, again, I don't watch Black Lightning, but it's a good show, I hear. And maybe I should check it out. But I really do like their interactions here. And, of course, they at the end, they introduce themselves. I'm Barry Allen. I'm Jefferson Pierce. And I guess Jefferson quotes, I think Flash said Dylan Thomas. But he's like, oh, hey, Flash, you're not too bad then. Because he's, Jefferson, I believe, is a teacher, they say. And so he's quoting, literature there, and Barry knows it. And he's like, you're pretty good there, kid. You're okay in my book. So it's a good little moment. I like them interacting together. Of course, we get, Barry restating everything that he's lost and his history. And it reminds you of what, continues to motivate Barry going forward. So it's a good scene. And then at the very end, we close the episode with Lila returning to the Wave Rider. And of course, she is being controlled by the Anti-Monitor. And so Lila starts beating people up. She, stops everybody. She does something to the Wave Rider, she pushes them down with gravity or something. I don't remember. So it's revealed that Lila is controlled by the Anti-Monitor. She's working for the Anti-Monitor now. And we get a little scene with the Monitor versus Harbinger as the Anti-Monitor. And they kind of, duel off with their power beams. And the Anti-Monitor defeats the Monitor. And I think he absorbs the Monitor's power or something, is what it looked like. And so then the Antimatter wave destroys Earth 1. Pariah figures out what to do, so he sends the 7 Paragons to a place called the Vanishing Point, which is apparently outside of time and space. I have not heard of this. It's maybe in the comics. I don't know if Sarah's the one that says it, so I don't know if it pops up during Legends at all. If it does, that's pretty cool. So the seven Paragons are on this vanishing point, and then if something goes wrong, and Brandon Routh's Superman is not feeling well, and he disappears, and Lex Luthor emerges. So Lex Luthor used the book to trade places with Superman. And so now Lex Luthor thinks he can be the Paragon. Really, it was just him trying to save his own skin, not be wiped out by the antimatter wave. So that's the twist ending to the episode. I like this episode, I think, a lot more than the last episode, episode 2. And I like episode 1, but these, episode 2 and episode 3, very much feel like the same story, just stretched out. Whereas episode 1 was, it did not feel like the same story. It's its own thing. And so, I guess that's sort of, we don't know where the next 2 episodes are going, but that's sort of what this crisis so far just doesn't feel as unified as it should. Like, I wanted this to be like a mini movie, and it doesn't. It just feels like the first episode was its own episode. Could have been an episode of Supergirl or an episode of Arrow, but then these last 2, they feel like one stretched out story where it all could have just been condensed into one more cohesive story over 2 episodes. So I'm not sure with, it sounded cool. Oh, it's going to be 5 episodes this year, but does that mean they stretched out the story too much? So I'm hoping the last 2 episodes are going to be really clear and concise and really focus on the crisis and how we're going to overcome the Anti-Monitor. So that's kind of my main concerns about this crisis so far. It's not my favorite at all. It actually might be my least favorite of the crossovers, just because there's just way too much going on. There's way too much science technobabble to follow. There's too many characters to keep track of. We have to send everybody off on side missions. There's just not enough for them to do. I mean, Kara and Kate are just... They spend the whole episode just debating on whether or not they're going to open the Book of Destiny. We send off John Jones and the Superman because we can't afford the actors and their time, and we don't have anything to do with them. So that's sort of my problems with this crisis so far. Is it's a little too ambitious for what they could do on a TV budget scale. I really hope the last 2 episodes, drive it home and are really good. There's some good stuff in these episodes. There's a lot of good stuff in these episodes, actually. I really love bringing in Black Lightning. I want to see him interact with some of the other characters. I wish I could see him interact with Oliver. That'd be great. And, so there's good stuff here. I like the Lucifer cameo. I mean, there's good stuff here. I just wish these crossover, these first 3 episodes felt more cohesive as a one-story narrative. So, and I wish we didn't kill off Barry or Oliver. So, those are kind of my thoughts. I mean, my favorite part of this episode, I don't know, my favorite part is either the Lucifer cameo, which was just kind of a fun, like, the Lucifer character was just kind of fun, pop in here, everybody's so dour and down, and Lucifer just kind of pops in here and kind of, brings a fun little energy to his scene, which was nice. I did like everything with Ryan Choi. And also, I liked everything with Black Lightning. That scene with him and Barry was really good too. I forgot to mention we do get the Superman characters in here. We get a couple scenes with Lois Lane. She's kind of running comms between John Jones and the Superman, who are going across the multiverse saving lives. So we get her in a little scene with her and Brandon Routh Superman. And I gotta say, I do like this version of Lois Lane. I think it's a good version of the character. I think she really, they really hit you over the head with that she's a reporter. But I like her spontaneity, or her spunk, not spontaneity, but I like her spunk that she has. And she is very, hopeful and believes very much in Superman. And we get a little moment where she asks why Brandon Routh's Superman, why his crest emblem has the black underneath the S. And he says something which is like, even through the darkest times, hope needs to shine through. And that's kind of a cool thing, and kind of an interesting little thesis we could have had running through these episodes. I mentioned last episode, we had a cool little philosophical debate between Sarah and Kara. Of Sarah says we can save who we have left, and Kara wants to try and focus on saving who has already been gone. And so I wish they had maybe more of a thematic theme. That really makes sense. But a theme, just a narrative thematic philosophy or element that ran through, and just the whole the hope needs to shine through the darkness could have been one of them. And that's also I think sort of misses the mark on this crisis. With Avengers Infinity War, the big theme was we don't sacrifice lives, we don't trade lives. That was a big theme for the heroes. And of course, what does Thanos do? He's the villain, so he trades his life, Gamora, for the Soul Stone. And so that was a big theme that ran in that. We don't really have a cohesive theme running through these episodes. So again, that's my problem. But I do enjoy this episode more than the last episode. And so my favorite part is probably the Lucifer cameo or everything with Black Lightning. So those are my thoughts for this episode. I am looking forward to the last two episodes though, because I really hope they'll be better. So let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. What are your thoughts? Do you like this Crisis on Infinite Earths so far? Do you like what they're doing with the characters, or do you think, like me, it's maybe a bit too much or too ambitious for what they could do on TV? Let me all know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next Crisis. Thank you all for listening. Here are my thoughts on the current episodes of The Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman. Follow me over on the Stardust app at Crashly87, Crashlie 87. For those bookworms out there, check out my blog, Fantastic Literature, link in the description below, for book reviews, short story reviews, and general thoughts about the literary industry. And if you like the podcast, be sure to follow, like, and share it. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.